Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from the Wall Street Journal, Rachael King.
Good morning. Today we're going to talk about telecommunications and open networking and open switches and routers and those kinds of things. We will look at data centers and how telecommunications companies are really starting to ramp up deployment of these boxes in their data centers and networks. I'd like to introduce the panel. Great. So I'm going to let these gentlemen introduce themselves. Mahmoud, why don't you begin?
Hi, good morning, everybody. This is Mahmoud El-Assir, Senior Vice President and CIO with Verizon.
Hi, Ken Duell. Good morning. I'm an AVP with AT&T.
Hi, this is Kangwon Lee from SK Telecom, Senior Vice President of R&D.
Daniel Brower from the Deutsche Telekom, Vice President, from the Deutsche Telekom.
So, Daniel, we're going to start with you.
That's good. I'm the one with jet lag here. I just arrived yesterday evening. Go ahead.
Why is your company interested in moving to white box switches and routers? What benefits do you see?
I'd say the overall driver is for sure efficiency and cost savings, but also driving innovation at a much greater speed. I don't know, Ken, what would AT&T say?
Those three factors are the same with us. I think in our case, it's a matter of survival. Our customers are expecting services on demand anywhere they may be, and we're finding that the open source platform, open source software provides us a platform to build new services and deliver it with much faster velocity.
Great. And looking forward, what kinds of challenges are you facing now, and do you expect to face in the future?
I would say when we think of white boxes, the hardware ecosystem with system on a chip is maturing very quickly, and we're very pleased to see that progress. The challenge is the software, especially network OS software, to run on these systems with WAN networking features. And so one of the things we hope in participating in this forum is to create enough of an ecosystem to help develop these network OS software platforms.
Great. Mahmoud, what do you think of white box computing and using open networks and networking gear in your networks?
Sure. I would say we've been, just to zoom out a little bit, when you think about the entire networking space, historically, the focus has been more on speed, and its focus has been more on running different, I would say, protocols like data and video and voice on the same networks. And now what's exciting in the telecom industry is, and the networking industry is everything becoming more software. And software basically the same, everything in the network becomes more like an app. And that's very exciting, which allows us to kind of unlock and deaggregate our network components and allow us to accelerate the speed of innovation, allow us to use white boxes and then innovate in the software and create different use cases for our customers. One of the biggest cases we have right now, we're leading the 5G transformation, and that's going to create lots of unique use cases, and the ecosystem will change. We're creating new, and we're growing the ecosystem, especially with edge compute and mobile edge. So getting compute everywhere in network all the way to the edge is a key element for us, and I would say speed in terms of giving our customers what they need and what they're looking for is key.
Great. So can you walk us through some of the challenges with the traditional kind of networking gear that you've had in your data centers?
One of the, I would say, opportunities, so today you get like one box, and this box has the software and the hardware and everything. So everything you want to change, it's like on a box-by-box basis. So when you go and disaggregate this and virtualize your network and use more white boxes, then you can automate and you can script your entire network. So network automation becomes much easier and much more doable. And nothing is easy. The devil is always in details, but it's a completely different ballgame. Another thing today, the network is for everybody. How do you go create personalized networks? So these are, how you virtualize the different services, like virtual CPE, personalized networks are key elements.
So there's an opportunity for automation that just didn't exist before.
Because the focus was more on speed and running different protocols and same networks, but now there is a good momentum in terms of accelerating and treating networks like IT apps. And
so much the same way as Facebook was able to automate the servers in its data centers and really scale down the kind of administrative attention each one needed, and
exactly.
the people needed
and that's
to
a good kind of merger. I would say like the paths are kind of merging between what kind of Facebook and Google and everybody has been doing, and now like different service providers are, they had different kind of partners relying on I would say unvirtualized network, and now everything is becoming more like a data center and scale data centers and software-defined networks. And I think that's where there's a joint interest here.
Great. Kangwon, are you seeing the same kind of benefits?
Yeah, I think something that probably, maybe we need to, frame this challenges and what are the things that we want to do in this space is it's really different from how telcos and the mobile network service provider has been working previously, right? It was more about the coverage and the bandwidth and how you support people moving around and make sure that their connections don't drop. That was the foremost goal of mobile service providers. And in some sense, in Korea, we have already achieved that no matter where you go, you have really good connectivity with video streaming, no problem. Now, Mahmoud just mentioned about 5G network. In this case, 5G doesn't stand for gigabps. This is the 5th generation mobile network that is going to be the next of the 4G LTE network that we have right now. And that has a lot of emphasis on the bandwidth, speed, and the latency impact, and so on. But what we see also as an important scenario for 5G network is that it will be a lot of different types of traffic that need to be able to connect through these networks, like healthcare. People are talking about industrial IoT, especially it's talked about a lot in Europe. Also like connected cars type of services and virtual reality, augmented realities. Now people want to be able to have richer experience that is not available from the network today. And in order to support those different types of traffics, they have very different characteristics in terms of QoS that they require. So the traditional way of setting up these monolithic network gears and having well-provisioned network will probably require a lot more efforts in terms of labor and configuration, and it will require a lot of work if we don't take this software-defined approach. So that's why we are looking at data centers, white boxes. Obviously, creating data centers with brand name servers is not going to be cost efficient. And also there is a lot more innovation going on in the open space in terms of open source software, OpenStack, ODL, ONOS. So I think it makes sense to look at this. Even we come from the telco industry, which was traditionally considered as walled garden space. So I think that's what we are now. In terms of challenges, It is actually, if you talk to a telco engineer, they are very different species. If you talk to, say, talking to a software engineer or anyone from IT background. I think the biggest challenge is how to transition from the traditional way of operating telecom network to this new type of network, which is more open, based on software, based on white box gears. So it's going to be interesting, but it's definitely not something that can be taken lightly.
So let me ask a follow-up
Yeah.
question. What is the traditional way of operating a telco network? Our audience may not be familiar with how that's different from, say, you would run a data center at Facebook or an IT data center or networking for a corporation.
Okay, so I think one thing that is different is that we have a very close relationship with the network equipment vendors, and we sort of go through a lot of, pre-trials and testing of the equipments. Of course, it is not just the routers and switches and servers that matter. We have to make sure that they work with all these base stations, access network gears, and they have to work end to end, right? So we have very good engineers who are good with, say, how do you make sure that the wireless signal is getting through, how do you plan that, how do you set that up, and then how do you migrate for that from the current generation to the next generation type of stuff. But once you start talking about, okay, software defined or OpenStack or Tosca model, Yang, they will say, what are those? I don't understand any of that.
So it reminds me of the old days where you could get any telephone you wanted as long as it was black, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to add a little bit more. So when you get into 5G, you get speeds that are 50 times the speeds we know it today in your mobile device. You get latency single-digit millisecond. And today, when you look at the current compute, so most of the computes happen in the data center, some of it also outside the data center. And with 5G, how do you bring compute to the edge of the network, like to the cell tower? And that will enable all different type of use cases. Because when latency becomes super important, being it into VR, augmented reality, into, like you mentioned, connected cars, and there are so many scenarios that will be enabled, and that's different. So when you're pushing with the industrial, video is going to be a huge use case of IoT, and I would say we're underestimating today. There is no network today that can sustain the explosion that's going to happen in video with IoT. And the current networks are completely, I would say, unsustainable to scale. So this is where the move to software-defined networks and software-defined data centers. A data center could be a huge data center, but the edge data center is going to be unmanned, super small data center. And this is where I think the OCP kind of project can help as well.
So Ken, what would you like, where is the Open Compute project now in terms of developing specifications for open switching, for example, and where would you like it to be?
I would characterize it that for the data center, it's mature. There's many open source submissions through OCP, and we're very encouraged by that success. And where we'd like to go is to incorporate the new system-on-chip silicon options that are coming out into the marketplace that include more WAN networking features. And I think we have a pretty good line of sight that this year will be the year of development of new open white boxes that will meet a broader set of needs that a carrier like ourselves require.
Great.
Yeah.
Daniel, what about you? You're nodding, I suspect.
No, I agree with Ken. That's good. And we didn't align before. No, I really see that. Also, we have in our network with what we're calling with the open source or development with a real-time NSM, and we have a long ways to go. The one is the hardware, of course, at Open Compute, but we still have the software on the systems that take us a few years in the development, and I think we're going the right way.
So you're trying to develop the operating system now for this? And how long do you anticipate that might take?
Too long. Right now, we're looking at what we're developing in our network. We already have, like, let's say, version 0.3 or whatever, but we're looking to have it where we could do a massive rollout in 2018.
That's pretty soon.
We're trying to go fast with Open Compute. I thought that's why we're joining forces here.
Do you envision that the specifications that OCP provides will be timely enough, or will you also have to turn to other resources?
No, that's what we're hoping. That's why joining forces here gives us the ability to put pressure on the market and the vendors, to make sure that we can push it on the market much faster. It's one of the things we're at least hoping and looking forward to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the fact that you all are collaborating, especially with AT&T and Verizon. That's
Sure.
interesting. So
Absolutely.
what is it like to collaborate with your competitors on a project like this?
Sure, absolutely. So I would say today, I mean, our number one focus priority is on the customer. So today we do collaborate and we lead the innovation and drive the innovation with our traditional suppliers. And these suppliers are the same. So I think now with what OCP is bringing to the table is pretty unique. It's like we've moved from using, I would say, proprietary software into like open source software. And now we're at the good place where we can transition also from using proprietary hardware into open source hardware. And I think in our view, we want the ecosystem to grow and we want the ecosystem to be successful. And when all ships rise, that's good for everybody. So we want everybody to be successful and win on the use cases and focus on the customer.
Ken?
Yeah, and to add to that, I would characterize it that there's a lot of efficiencies on having many companies collaborate on open source hardware. And I think it'll help drive the cost down and the efficiency up across the entire industry. And what will really happen, so AT&T will still compete with Verizon, there's no doubt about it, but the differentiation will come with software. The hardware will be common, and we'll get huge efficiency of scale, but we'll compete on software features, and Verizon, I'm sure, will develop theirs, we'll develop ours, and we'll continue to compete together.
And the use cases for the customers are the key. So.
Okay, great. And Daniel, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I think I said it also earlier. I think when we join powers, it gives us really the ability to change the industry, and we can only do that together. So either we win together or we lose together. Yeah, the customer is the main focus.
Great. I know that there are a lot of new services that virtualization of networking and switching will allow you to do. Let's just go down the line and talk about which ones you're most looking forward to now and what you think you might be able to do in the future.
So I would say the easiest one to mention are like virtual CP. This is like virtual routing and switching and all this stuff. The other one, you'll also be able, that's exciting to get about with 5G is you'll be able to create personalized networks on the edge. So meaning you can have your own network on the edge. So we can slice the network. Today that's not possible. It's like...
So can you explain that to me? I'm not quite understanding what a personal network would mean.
So today, everybody is using is connected to the same cell, as the same network performance is available to everybody.
Yeah.
We can change that network. We can provide more secure network. We can provide for every at a personal level. If you're connecting it, especially for IoT devices, and that's where again I keep saying the edge compute will create this differentiation. Because you can, through orchestration and of the software on the edge and having compute and storage on the edge, you'll be able to do lots of scenarios
so if you're,
that were not possible before.
So if you're, for example, running a network of automobiles that are communicating safety information to one another, you can prioritize that and give it a higher level.
You can real-time create network for this car and then hand off to another network on a different cell, and then you don't need this part of this slice of the network on this cell as the car is traversing the network. So it's exciting times.
Great. Ken?
Yes, so at AT&T, we've developed two new services. One is Network on Demand, and the other one is NetBond. And what's at the core of those two services is we've opened up our network to allow the customer to control several parameters of their service. And we found that virtualized switching and routing And moving towards merchant silicon technologies has been the fundamental underpinning that allows us to create this new environment. And we continue to really be delighted in the innovation we see from our customers. So we'll open up an API, and then a customer will come back to us and explain how they're using combinations of virtual network functions that we provide and open up to them, and they're using networks in ways we never imagined. And it just feeds on itself. It becomes a virtuous cycle where a customer will say, hey, you open this API, we develop this, but if you can open up this other part, we can create this new additional service and manage our business needs. And it's really driving a lot of interesting and innovative conversations with our customers, and quite frankly, the people that work for me are quite excited by this. Their day job is much more interesting to work in an agile environment where things can really move fast with the customers.
So Ken, can you give me an example of a way that you never envisioned something?
So some of the parameters, like with network on demand, and which includes a virtual CPE, is we have a virtual network function library. So we may look at certain functions like a firewall that the customer can control, adjusting COS and adjusting bandwidth between locations on demand. And then a customer will finally, start to use our network at night. They may be using it to sync data centers. During the day, they may rearrange the network to carry stuff from satellite locations to a hub. And so there's a lot of time of day and tweaking of the network to meet certain business needs. And quite frankly, our customers know their business better than we do. And it's, us opening up their network provides them a whole set of tools that allow them to optimize their networking needs to their business, rather than us being in the way with the lack of features.
Great. Kangwon?
I think the basic idea of virtualizing the network infrastructure gives you the flexibility and agility to the services that you want to create and provide to the users. And also, the main benefit that it gives you is that you can have finer grain control of your network and how you want to be able to create something and provide to your customer in a very personal way. So if your customer has a lot of bandwidth needs, he's a gamer, he has a new Oculus VR with the mobile network connectivity, then we can easily create that type of network pipe, virtual pipe, to that customer. If someone, like mentioned in the connected car type of scenario, you want low latency, then we don't have to go through all the way to the back end of the network. You can just route all the traffic at the mobile edge. So there is a lot of possibilities and flexibilities that we can build now to the network because of the new APIs that are available to us.
Great. And Daniel, how about you?
What can I add to all the great virtualized stuff there? No, basically about a year ago, we launched what we call Cloud VPN, a service in 3 countries in Europe, and we're expanding it to 5 different countries at this time throughout Europe. What's unique on it is utilizing one data center in one country to provide a service for other countries within Europe with all the regulatory problems, lawful interception, and all the other problems that we have in Europe that in America you don't have with the 50 states, but we definitely have it in Europe. Makes it a little bit unique, but we managed to launch the service last year, and we're expanding it using and utilizing the virtual routers and switches at this time. So that's just one thing that we're doing right now. And we're also preparing to launch in April our pan-European network. We're installing a data center in different countries, and so we're already moving this direction. And
Great. So what could suppliers do this year or next year in order to help you achieve your goals?
Go faster with their development. Yeah.
Go faster?
Yeah.
Okay. How about Kangwon? Is there anything that you're really looking to buy and you can't buy it yet?
I think we're working really close with some of the vendors on doing partnership and joint development in this area, all of us that I know. And I think we have some excellent working relations, and we're trying to push. I think, like I said, we're always pushing to go faster, because the quicker we are, the more efficient and cost savings we can bring. Yeah.
Kangwon, how about you?
Yeah, I think go faster is definitely important. So one of the things that has change it in this new brave, open world is that now we as a telco service provider has to play more role in putting all these things together. Select the right components and put them together and make sure that they work seamlessly. Now, many of the things that's supposed to work together, when you try to actually, put together, they don't work together. So we need more composable, more compliant, open pieces, so that I think only in that way we can we can build a system that fits the purpose and optimize for providing the service.
And I'll just add that speed is also of the essence, and then there's an interesting challenge, as you discussed about the type of engineer. So we in AT&T are having to retrain our workforce to work in this new environment. It's a very different job to engineer a network with OEM equipment versus open source equipment, and so we've created a program to we call Skills Pivot, to retrain people in place to this new, better way of doing engineering and collaborating and working. And so this includes co-development with many partners, and then learning how to, just the basics of how to manage open source projects. And we're really looking forward to applying it with OCP.
Great. How is that working, the retraining of employees?
It's going well. We have multiple collaborations with universities. With master's degree programs, we have micro degrees. There's lots of online training. We're training people to become modern programmers. From a lot of people, we're dated myself, so we're lots of online training, and the feedback from my team has been very positive on the results and the quality of it.
So if I were, say, a certified networking engineer from a large conventional proprietary provider, you would retrain me to actually be able to manage in this new environment.
Yeah, we are retraining our people in place, because they know what we're trying to achieve for our customers. They have that as part of their DNA, but what they need to do is be retrained on a new technology. So we're bridging the gap between their knowledge of our customers to the new technology, and bringing them along with us in place.
So what is the most important skill that they are learning, or that they need to know? I'm sure that there are other folks out here who may want to adopt those skills.
It's really software skills. At the end of the day, it's software. When I learned programming once in the day, I won't say how many years ago, it was a completely different environment of how you code, how you work together with teams to code, and it's basically learning those software skills is where the focus is.
See, to add on this one, so to piggyback on the culture side and the training and the workforce side. So again, when you get to the network in the old days, it's mostly like CLIs and stuff, and now everything's becoming software oriented. So the biggest concept we have in the software world is the DevOps kind of culture, and DevOps tools and operations. And this includes the software kind of development lifecycle automation. So how do you bring that to the network world? Even though it's not everybody in IT, most of the time the same IT teams are developing and operating. So how do you bring the DevOps culture into the network world as everything goes into software? And that's how you automate the network and get operations and developers to work much closer. So that's one. And then the other one, which we're gonna push on the OCP project, is the design for an efficient open source mobile edge. And on the 5G forum we mentioned, we have a kind of a 5G forum we formed with SKT and some of our key vendors, and Deutsche and Nokia and Ericsson and Intel and Qualcomm. And I think OCP can add a lot to that forum, the design of the mobile edge.
How do you bring the DevOps culture to Verizon? What are you doing specifically? Are you retraining folks? Are you bringing in consultants?
We are. So I would say we're doing all of the above, right? So in the IT side, we spent past couple of years on terms of moving 1,000+ applications to do full automation. And with that, the focus is on time to value. So So instead of waiting until like 3 months to get the value, how do you get incremental value every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever the sprint is? So the same culture. So we're inserting some people, we're rotating people between IT and network. So that helps in terms of seeding players at different levels. We have formal training for like the IT teams. We're applying similar training to the network teams. And we're also connecting, showing what's possible. And we have a monthly kind of forum at the executive level where we review and share best practices. And we're in the process of seeding more and more people in the network space with kind of IT background. And doing the same thing, moving like people from network to IT. So that's like where IT network becomes like one.
Great. Well, please join me in giving this gentleman a round of applause. Thank you very much.
Thank you.